Detective James Zadroga was one of the first responders and worked close to 500 hours at the site, protected only by a paper mask. Although he quickly became very ill, the police department applied standard sick leave procedures to his case.
You looked at that time, if you looked at him, you knew he was sick. Anybody that looked at him knew he was sick, but he would go report to the sick desk and they would say, "You're not sick, go back to work tomorrow." And at first he'd go back to work. But then he got so sick, he couldn't walk up the flight of stairs to get into work. He had to take the elevator up to go one flight of stairs.
But Zadroga couldn't work. He couldn't play with his baby daughter. He couldn't breathe, and it only got worse.
He was on oxygen 24/7. He was on 3 liters of oxygen. And later with 4 liters of oxygen, then went up to 5 towards the end. I mean, I knew eventually someday I would walk upstairs and find him, dead on the floor.
James Zadroga had known he was dying for a long time, as he revealed in a letter to his father.
Their deaths were quick and painless, and mine has just begun. I can't breathe. My throat is constantly sore. I'm always coughing, and headaches, and sleepless nights, nightmares, anxiety, and visions haunt me every day. And I'm all alone except for my dearest loved ones. No one cares on the job. They tell me I'm fine, go back to work. But truthfully, I haven't felt this bad in my life.
James Zadroga died on January 5, 2006, 4.5 years after he raced into the cloud of dust. Pathologist Dr. Breton did the autopsy and agreed to this exclusive interview.
I was immediately struck by the enormous size of his lungs.
Zadroga's lungs were 3 times the normal weight. When Breton looked at the slides of the lung tissue, he found out why. The lungs were full of debris.
These are the microscopic sections of the lung. It's kind of opaque and pink here, and these, I suspect, they are dust. You see this foreign material there? Look, it's kind of look like fibers.
The autopsy slides reveal he had almost no functioning lung tissue. At least 80% of his lungs were filled with granulomas, giant cells that form around foreign objects.
So that the person is actually being asphyxiated with his own lung, because his lung was being replaced by these foreign body granulomas. When you tell me that the person was helping in cleaning Ground Zero, he was exposed to all kinds of foreign debris, and I find this in his lung, I have to put them together.
For the first time, a death had been directly attributed to the dust at Ground Zero. But at New York City Hall, the mayor's office viewed the results as inconclusive. Even 5 years later, government officials are reluctant to admit the link between exposure at Ground Zero and illness.
If there were fears about getting business up and going, or if there were fears about litigation and liability that would have been very hard for local and state and federal government and other entities to deal with, we could have taken care of that. I mean, to me, the most important thing is, number one, get to the truth, and number two, take care of people.
Getting the truth and protecting people are part of the EPA's mandate. But if the air at Ground Zero was safe, why were so many people getting sick? Even some of EPA's own staff doubted the agency's assurances about safety. Among them, senior policy analyst Hugh Kaufman.
Mrs. Whitman went on national TV, smiled at the camera, and told everybody everything is safe, and it wasn't.
As I say, you know asbestos was in there, is in those buildings, lead is in those buildings. There are the VOCs. However, the concentrations are such that they don't pose a health hazard. We're going to make sure everybody's safe.